The technology of hand tracking and mixed reality were at the point where we really wanted to build something for that technology. And then we came up with a design for Table Troopers specifically to fit that technology and to fit that capabilities of the device. And after some prototyping, we realized that we have something here that works just on these platforms. Cosmorama was founded by Sven and me in 2024 with the goal to build the best VR or mixed reality experience that we can build. And before that, we worked in mobile gaming together for quite some time.
Well, Fabian is also my best friend. And we are lucky and happy to work together on many cool projects in the past. And then the opportunity from Meta arose, and we had the chance to work on this project together again. We have seen a lot of things on mobile, and we wanted to apply our knowledge from mobile to VR and to design it from the first hand for VR.
One of our first ideas when seeing mixed reality and hand tracking was that to build something like a diorama style tabletop game. And we wanted to use hand tracking as one of our core pillars because we want to feel the interactions to be as close to the real world equivalent as possible. Our main goal was to make the users forget that they're actually wearing a headset and that they feel that something virtual is actually present in front of them in their room. Focusing on hand tracking really helped us to get the game as accessible as possible and have users to just play with one hand, have their hands free to do other things while they play the game. One of the first things we prototyped was the slingshot mechanic for shooting, and we started prototyping using hands, and the spatial awareness and the ability to move your head around and aim and really have a perception of depth and a sense of space very early showed us that this is a fun mechanic that we want to continue to build on.
The second thing we prototyped is how you can use your hands to move the little units around like pawns on a board game. It fits perfectly. When Fabian demonstrated to me the second prototype, which was about moving the table and at the same time also playing the game, that really felt like magic.
One of the biggest challenges when implementing hand tracking was to get the precision and the reliability on par with the controller implementation. So it worked 90% of the time, but for it to be enjoyable, it has to work almost every time. We didn't want to have the players that play with hands a competitive disadvantage. One of the biggest features of our games are fully destructible and dynamic terrain. Common optimization techniques don't really apply when everything is dynamic and the whole scene on the table is fully in sight all the time. The battlefield needs to be dynamic and needs to react to the shooting and explosions. We have to make everything fully destructible in order to get the madness and chaos that we are aimed for.
My favorite part is if you move the table around and an enemy unit falls off the table, it literally stays on your floor.
To get hand tracking on par with controller input, we had to apply a few tricks. The cameras only can see what they can see. We warn the user up front by tinting the hands a bit red, so to give them an indicator of they're about to lose tracking before they actually lose the tracking. Our slingshot mechanic relies on opening the pinch gesture to confirm the shot. And we realized that while opening the shot, the precision was off because the user was moving their hands. One solution to solve that was to record the last few positions of the hand. When we recognize the open gesture, we just take the position that was valid for like half a second before and use that as the final intent for the user, what they actually wanted to do. And that helped to improve precision by a lot. Other people usually use it a bit different than you do it yourself. They hold their hands like, why do you do that? I never did this myself. So playtesting is important here, especially with people that never used the headset before. Optimizing something for hands also helps making the controller input better. Thinking about using hands also made the overall experience better for all users. A lot of times when we tried hand tracking games or experiences, we saw that that either was like a laser pointer shooting out of your hand, or that you had to tap in thin air in order to hit some buttons, and that felt very unintuitive, and it had lack of feedback. What we really like in our designs is to use the pinch gesture, because you have a natural source of feedback in your hands. Our buttons are like 3D capsules. It snaps to the pinch point. When you press it, you basically give it a small squeeze animation, and combined with some satisfying sounds, it makes a very, very satisfying experience.
And my only wish was that, can we make the UI as good as this one? And we managed to. I'm happy about that.
We wanted to build something that theoretically could exist in real life, but cannot because of physical limitations. So we didn't just want to recreate a static board game, but something where your board game really has life into it and can be destroyed and can be torn apart and can be interacted with something that feels like magic. One of the benefits of being in mixed reality is that it removes the isolation that you usually have from fully immersive VR experiences, and that you can still interact with your surroundings. We have two players play the same game at the same time. We just aligned the table for each other so that it actually felt like we were both playing the same game at the same time. So during onboarding, we want to let the players feel in the first few minutes of playing the game that they're actually having a living diorama game board in front of them. Units in the game recognize the player, so if you get close to them, they turn around and look at you directly, and if you squeeze them, they react a bit with a funny voice.
Out of ammo.
Everything you do, everybody sees. Usually in turn-based games, you have to wait. What surprised us is that watching other people do their move is almost as entertaining as doing the move yourself. Yeah, it's a very social experience where people hang around the table like they would hang out on your table in your actual room. People just stay at the table and just continue to chat after the game is over. We moved our usual stand-ups that we did over video call to our game. So it was very fun to just, with the development team, every morning just meet inside the game around the table and review the changes, to basically meet in your creation and look at your creation together. That was one of the biggest fun parts of the development. The game has grown steadily since launch, and we are very proud that we have kept a very high star rating from our users from the very first early access version up until now. We chose to release Stable Troopers as a premium title, but we deliberately chose a very low price point to make it easy and low entry for users to invite their friends with them. Table Troopers is available on Mid Horizon Plus since beginning of May, which drove a lot of new players into our game and increased the amount of multiplayer matches that we see every day. We started to add more content as form of DLC packs to the game, which is a very big driver of our current revenue. A lot of people are repeated customers, as one of the friends needs to buy the DLC, and that made the DLCs very popular. We can explore different themes with each of the DLC packs that we do. Seasonal DLCs, brand collaboration, combine so many different themes to add new weapons, more and more absurd weapons. We took a lot of inspiration from the sample apps that are provided by Meta. So when we started out, it was good to see what range of interactions is just possible and what fits our playstyle. The streamlined invite features. We're also using the leaderboards to give the users some challenges where they can compete against each other. I think a lot of the self-serving tools in the dashboards helped us a lot, like A/B testing the storefront pages, sending notifications to doing developer posts, creating promo codes. The dashboard just worked for us. We saw constant improvements pass through distortion reduction, and hand tracking got a lot better.
Meta was very supportive along the way with regards to hand tracking, so they gave us a little bit of feedback how we can improve it. And also we were part of the Start community where developers can exchange their experience.
It's often better to simplify the mechanic that you want to build rather than make the input schema more complex, and also to accept early that not every mechanic works perfectly for hands. Test on devices early and as often as possible, because the game feels much different on device, and it was especially important to test for when developing input, when to get the scale of the game right, and also to take performance into consideration early. You can launch a game early, so we try to launch Table Troopers with as bare bone state as possible to get actual users playing the game, to not spend another 6 months of polishing time, but rather get the game in the hands of players early, to get their reactions, to get their feedback. It's also very fun to just tinker around with new technology, to remove some of your old assumptions, not just transfer things one-to-one, but rather reimagining them for a different platform, for different input schemas, for different use cases.